Welcome to Closet Coaching. So I was just out. I had brought my kids to school this morning and then decided to run some errands so I didn't have to go back out later. Anyway, so I'm out and I'm like, oh, I'm really hungry. I never had breakfast. I wasn't hungry this morning before I left. So I'm out. I'm getting hungrier and hungrier. I'm like, forget it. I got to finish this errand and not do any more because I got to go home and eat. And I typically am not that sensitive to that anymore, but I was today. And I was like, I'm really hungry, like need to go home and eat. So I did. And when I came home, I was like, I started to go make I don't know, my go-to kind of breakfast. And then I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want this. What I want is cereal, which is not something I usually have for breakfast. It's something I usually have that more for a snack, but I was like, I want this. It's this kind of cereal that's like so hard that when you eat it, like the world shakes because it's like you're crunching it. It's like everything's moving. It's just that hard. It's kind of like hurts the upper, your palate on top after a while. But that's what I wanted. And I was like, so I'm eating it and I'm like noticing as I'm eating it how anxious I was, like how much I was like from the running around this morning and from getting too hungry and then from being like, okay, now I'm home and it's later than I wanted it to be and I still have to write a paper and I still have to do all these things and I'm like, blah. And I noticed through the food that I was like using it. Well, I was using it because I was hungry, but like I was also using that food because my body needed to calm down. And as I'm chewing and crunching, I'm like getting more and more calm. I was like, it was bringing me out of my head and out of the swirl and into my body. It was just like, okay. And it was amazing to notice in action because it's how our attunement works. Both in how we feel like as far as what our stomach wants and what our mouth craves, but also like the way our body as a whole is craving something. Like it's in a certain state when we eat. And sometimes that food can be a complement or it can help that regulation. And it was just so interesting that I've never noticed it so much in the moment that I felt like I should share it. Because when I was done, I was like, oh, I was like full. And I was also like very much here, grounded, because I had just experienced this like rush of sensation through food, which is part of why we use, our senses to help us regulate. I mean, this is part of it, but when you're hungry, like food is the thing that we're using. And I don't know, I just thought